Welcome back. We're going to finish up the body of the wolf. So I have my white Conte pencil, which I've sharpened. I have 4 sharp edges, and I'm going to add hair to the bottom part of the wolf. I have my glassine paper, plus all of the pastels that I've been using are right here laying on the paper. And this protects my pastel from me rubbing anything off on it. I'm using my raw sienna to add hair. I realize there has been a lot of adding of hair and that fur is very time consuming. So take as many breaks as you need to come back and get a fresh perspective in adding all these little hairs. Keep your pastels sharp, take your time with it. It makes all the difference in the final outcome. I'm adding some more black here to get some darker fur in, making adjustments as we go along. Using my Conte white as I come down the back of the wolf. So my hairs are a little bit straighter in this area, and then they're going to curve to the right or the left depending on which way I go. So I've decided to use my Caran d'Ache to add some brighter hair in that area. I would advise you if you get these softer pastel pencils to be really careful when you sharpen them. I use a Dahl 133 pencil sharpener to sharpen the pastel pencils with. I've had very good success with them and they don't break off like they do in the electric sharpener. Now I'm adding a little more black, working down the back. I'm using the raw sienna as I work over on the right side, adding hairs. and adding my 276 buff to get those lighter hairs as we work down towards the body. I'm using my white pastel pencil to pull the hair out into the background there. And I'm going to use my Carbothello Gray 700 to add some hair into the body here, just as we work towards the top of the leg. I'm working slowly down to the leg using the raw sienna. I'm using black and raw sienna working down the back as well. I don't want as much drama in this area of the wolf's body as I did up closer to the ear. So I'm using the bottom of the brown 353 to add some brown color and some black. It wasn't dark enough in this area, so we need to add more dark color. I'm using my black charcoal pencil to pull some black hairs, some fine black hairs back into the background. Adding a little bit of 305 spruce blue in this area. My underlayer in this area wasn't dark enough, so I'm using my 700.5 black to add some dark color to this area. I could have used the bottom of my 229 black as well, but I wanted to darken that up before I added hair on top of it. It would have been too light like it was. So I'm using my Conte to add hair. You can see that I stopped using the blue pastel pencil in this area. We want to focus that blue up closer towards the dramatic area, which is behind the ear and underneath the ear. So we want to put all our hair in down here, but we're not going to draw the attention of the viewer to this area. So we'll just use the colors that we've been using all along. The Conte, the 233 raw sienna, the black, maybe some brown, and the 305 spruce blue. I'm going to speed it up for you while I add all that white hair. I'm not using anything else, just my white Conte stick. Back in real time now, just adding little details with the white pastel pencil, little wild hairs here and there. I decided to add a few more blue hairs before leaving the back area. Just a few. Adding a few more hairs with the Caran d'Ache, light yellow. And a few in the front as well. Just putting in those finishing touches and final details before we add the legs. And now I'm going to use the Conte flat on using the top side flat on the paper to add a white area that is the top of the leg. So we're just going to define these legs a little bit. We're not going to spend a lot of time on them. But I'm adding a little brown color with my 223 burnt umber. Now if you don't want to put the legs in yours, you don't have to. And put in a few more hairs as well. Adding some darker hair, comparing it as always to my reference photo. That looks nice, adding the darker hair in the back. I'm adding some darker brown back here with the 538.5 Mars Violet. I needed a darker color, so I'm going to use that. And I'm going to use my black Nu Pastel, the edge, to draw some darker hair down into that brown. And I'm going to put some white hair over top of that with my Conte stick. Using the Conte stick to add a little white hair on the top of the leg. I'm going to pull a few hairs down in this area. I think that looks better. I need to add some underlayers, so I'm using my, I'm actually using the black to create that underlayer as opposed to the gray because I want it to be darker. And now I'm using my fuchsia color that we used in the background, either a Unison Red 14 or Unison Portrait 6 or any soft permanent rose kind of color. I'm also using the dark blue to push it in. Now this is the Rembrandt 508.5 Prussian blue. So what I'm going to do is fade out this wolf's body into the background by adding the background colors around the bottom of the painting. And I want it to be dark down here so it doesn't draw the eye. So now I have my 397.3 Permanent Rose Rembrandt, the really hard one, and I'm going over this area on the right and blending things together. And I'm going to add some fur, pull some fur out. That forms the shape of that leg. So this is my base gray, which is 707.7 mouse gray that I'm putting underneath before I add any other color on top. This is the 508.5 Prussian blue Rembrandt that I've sanded, the one that's very hard. And I'm going all over this area underneath the wolf to finish off the painting. So we're creating a vignette. I've got a little too much pastel there, so I'm going to take it off with my 9B graphite pencil. And I'm going to continue adding the blue across the bottom. So I'm just suggesting the legs because the wolf was lying down. If you want to paint more of your legs and draw all the fur in, you can. It's whatever you want to do with your painting. And so now I'm adding some of the 397.3 Permanent Rose over the blue. Continuing to add the permanent rose and push these colors together, push the color into the fabric to create the same background that we have on the upper part of the painting. Now I'm using 700.5 black Rembrandt to go over the blue and permanent rose that I put on the bottom to blend the bottom into darkness, to add that black kind of ends the painting. Don't want too much bright color down there to draw the eye out, so that's why I chose the black. I'm using some 538.5 to blend the leg into the black to add a little variation in color. And now a little more blue with the 508.5 Prussian blue. I want a nice balance of color. I'm going over the leg, blending it in. I don't want it to be too prominent. I don't want attention to be drawn to the bottom of the painting. And now I'm actually putting some of the soft fuchsia unison color over that area. I feel like it's too prominent. I carried the leg out too far, so I'm covering up that white line that I previously put in there. And I'm using more black to blend it in. So you use as much or as little as you want until you get the right blend of colors for your painting. I'm going to use my white pastel pencil to put a few more hairs in. I'm drawing in a few white lines to represent hair on the top of that leg that's in the foreground. I'm using some 353 new pastel brown just right at that edge where the light meets the brown, and now some pale gray pencil to add a few hairs into that leg. decided to add some white hair in this area because I couldn't quite cover up that line, and that it would be best for the painting. And I'm going to use it also on the top of this leg that's in the foreground. I hope you've enjoyed this project as much as I have. It's one of the most dramatic ones that I've created. If you'd like to see more, please go to kwit.com to see all our video workshops that are available. Thank you.